And now the next case.
All party to Madam Eldridge versus Eldridge. Step forward, please.
Truck driver Johnny Eldridge is suing his brother, Tommy Eldridge, for an electric bill. Tommy is countersuing for non-payment of services rendered.
Mr. Eldridge, the defendant is your brother, and according to your complaint, you made a loan to him for an electric bill, a couple of $100s. He refuses to pay you back. Your brother says it was really a helping hand, there was never a loan, and he is counterclaiming because he said he did a whole lot of work for you around the house for which he was never compensated. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you pay this electric bill for him?
September 14th.
Why?
I feel sorry for him.
Tell me how it came about that you even knew he had this electric bill problem.
Well, out of my father's house the day before, on the 13th.
You were at your father's house?
Yes.
The two of you?
Yes. And that afternoon, I get home, and he's called, wanted to borrow money to pay his electric bill. And I said, I don't know.
Well, what did he say to you?
He said his girlfriend has left him, so he has no money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You erected a fence on each side of the backyard.
With his help.
Then you did brakes for a truck.
I'll sit down to do that.
You're a hustler, Mr. Eldridge.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Johnny Eldridge says his brother, Tommy Eldridge, owes for a loan to pay his electric bill. Tommy says the money became an issue when he refused to rent a hotel room for his brother and his mistress.
Go ahead.
So that next day, I called him up and said, Tom, I'll pay your electric bill for you. So when can I have the money back? He says, I'll give it back to you when my mother-in-law gets back from the coast.
When his mother-in-law gets back?
Or no, his girlfriend's mother, because she owed him some money.
All right. When his girlfriend's mother straightens up, he'll get straightened up and he'll give you back your money.
Right. And then I gave him the money, gave him a check.
How much did you give him?
$257.33.
Okay.
And then he says, I'll pay you back within a week. A week went by, I called him up, how's everything going, Tom? Didn't have nothing to say to me. So I showed up out at his house a month later and said, Tom, what's the problem? Can you not pay me? He goes, no, I don't have no money. I don't have no money to pay you. So I said, well, can you not call me and tell me that you got problems?
I called him all the time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. True, he gave me the money. He called me and asked me if I wanted the money. And I don't borrow money. I'm 44 years old. I don't borrow money from nobody. Parents, him, sister, brother, it don't matter.
So just a second. So he called you.
He knew. Yes, ma'am.
So he called you and said, I want to give you this money? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am. I've had 19 surgeries since May 1st of 2002. And I'm disabled, can't work. He called me. My fiance, works her tail off to make ends meet. We have 3 kids. He calls and asks me if I need to borrow money for my electric bill. He calls me.
Oh, just a second. How did he know that you needed money for your electric
Because
bill?
I'm not working. And knowing that she's just a waitress, and I've got 3 boys.
I do
Mr.
that
Eldridge.
all the time.
What?
I do that all the time. I call everybody, see if they need money. I got so much money, see.
You're being facetious. I was...
That's what he thinks.
No, listen, Mr. Eldridge, what you said to me doesn't make sense, sir. It doesn't make sense that somebody calls you up and said, by the way, do you need money to pay your electric bill? If you said to me, my brother called me and said, listen, I know you're having hard times now. Is there anything that I can do to help? And you said, well, you could help me out with my electric bill. That sounds normal. But when you say to me, he called you up and said, listen, I want to help you out by paying your electric bill, that doesn't make sense, Mr. Eldridge.
No, he told me I have some work to do for you. I have a whole list of stuff at work I've done for him that we agree on a price. We would not be here in this courtroom today on October 8th. He calls me and asked me if I would go to Holiday Inn in Weatherford and get a motel room for him and a girl. He's got a beautiful wife that he's been married for 10 years to. And I told him I would not do that. The next morning, he come beating on my door and jumped my tail and said, I'll see you in court. Then I get this certified letter. It says, I'm responding to your countersuit. F you. I'll see you in court.
Mr. Eldridge, could we get down to the $257.33 for the electric bill, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, I listened to what you had to say, and I read your answer. And your answer says, he paid the electric bill in September. I figured we were even because of all the work that you had done for him.
Right.
And then you turn around and counterclaim for $1,020.
Yes, ma'am, I did that because...
Well, $257 here, and $1,020 here. How do you write here, I figured we were even, and then turn around and sue him for 4 times as much money?
Because he don't consider all the work I did for his wife, him, on his son's car that he won't take to the shop and have fixed. He calls me to come and have it fixed.
So what?
Well, because I'm not working, and that's what he does.
Mr. Eldridge, did you have an agreement with regard to the projects that you did to the house that you were working for him?
Yes, ma'am. We had a certain price.
Oh, well, let me see the agreement.
Yes, ma'am. We had had a certain price, and he never, ever paid me what we agreed on.
Just a second. I want to see what he agreed on. Are you getting disability, sir?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
Yes, he is.
No, I'm not. I've been denied twice. I have an attorney.
Did you? Oh, okay. So you applied for disability.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And when were you injured? In May?
May 1st, 2002.
When did you do all this work for your brother? Before or after that?
During it.
That's why you didn't get disability, Mr. Eldridge.
No, ma'am, it's not.
Well, let's see. You say that during the time that you were seeking disability, that you couldn't work, you erected a fence on each side of the backyard.
With his help.
Hanging a Venta hood for an agreed price. Changing a starter in a Camaro. Then you did brakes for a truck.
I'll sit down to do that.
You're a hustler, Mr. Eldridge. You pay your brother back the electric bill, $257.33. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He ruined our family. I don't have nothing to do with him.
He's conned everybody in the family. I'm here to put a stop to it, and I did.
He's a liar.
We know he's a liar. He's always been a liar.
About him not calling me and asking to get a room for him, a girl.
My wife knows better than that.
He's lying out his teeth.
I know it's totally false. I totally trust my husband.
My mother's the only one I love. The rest of them can kiss my tail. I'm sorry.
Sales rep Marcia Hertz is suing strip mall manager Miguel Gonzalez for the value of her father's medical files and for harassment. Miguel is countersuing for defamation of character.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 75 on the calendar in the matter of Hertz versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Hertz, your father was a doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a doctor was he?
He was a chiropractic physician, ma'am.
And he passed away in April, is that
March
right?
28th.
According to your complaint, your father had a medical practice and his landlord was the defendant.
No, ma'am. Mr. Gonzalez is the strip mall building manager.
Okay, he was the manager of the building.
Yes, ma'am.
And you tried to get into your father's office in order to retrieve his files after his death.
Yes, ma'am, according to probate code.
Just answer my questions. Mr. Gonzalez would not let you into the building or your father's office when you wanted to get into the office, and it is your claim that because you could not get into the office at an appropriate time, you lost a substantial amount of money because you could have sold those files to another doctor if you had been able to do it sooner, and you're seeking damages in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Gonzalez has a reason that he says that he did not allow you to remove the files when you wanted to. He's counterclaiming for defamation because he says that you're bad-mouthing him to other people, calling him a tyrant. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to forget about your counterclaim. Forget about the counterclaim. But we're going to get to the plaintiff's claim, which I find rather interesting. All right, your father died. Did he die suddenly on March 28th?
No, ma'am. He entered the hospital with viral pneumonia on March 23rd and passed away on March 28th.
How old a man was he?
He had been 84 for 6 weeks.
Had he been in full-time practice up until the time he got sick?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on what date was the first date that you tried to get into his office?
I arrived in Los Angeles April 3rd in the evening.
On April 3rd?
Yes, ma'am. I was unable to get here sooner than that because of
So you
business.
were not here when your father died?
No, no, ma'am.
You were not here when he was in the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
Chicago.
Well, were you advised that he was sick and in the hospital on the 23rd of March?
Yes, ma'am. However, my father was always a very strong, healthy person. We're into natural health and healing. And we never expected him to be, we never expected this to happen.
How many children are there?
Just myself.
So who was with him when he was in the hospital? Nobody?
No one.
Oh. So you got here after your father died?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get here after the funeral?
No, ma'am. The service, I went to the mortuary on April 4th. identified his body at the hospital, took him to the mortuary, and made the arrangements then. We had a memorial service for him.
Just a minute. So he died on March 28th, 29th, 30th. April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 7 days later,
Yes, ma'am.
you managed to find a way to come from Chicago to Los Angeles.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't sound like a hell of a lot of devotion for me, because all the healing didn't help him. He died on March 28th.
We never expected him to die. We thought he would be back in the office.
He did die.
Yes,
on
ma'am.
March 28th. What took you 7 days to travel from Chicago to Los Angeles?
I had to make arrangements to take care of my apartment and as well as my birds. And I also had business arrangements to make.
And what did you do when you got here on the 4th of April?
Went to the office building in order to start taking inventory of the office.
Okay. Now, at that point, had you had anything from the probate court giving you the authority to go in there?
Ma'am, the estate was under $100,000. No court supervision was necessary according to probate code 13100, etc.
Were you armed with that information when you came to the office?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Gonzalez wouldn't let you in?
No, ma'am.
Good. That's exactly what he should have done. Should not have let you in to go through anything. He doesn't know who you are. As far as he knows, there's a will, and he left all of his estate and all of his property to Goodwill. He doesn't know if you have authority. You may be his only child, but he may not have liked you. So he could have left all of his property to somebody else. Isn't that right?
My father died intestate.
He doesn't know that. So you went there on the 4th of April, and he said you can't come in. What happened next?
Mr. Gonzalez had been apprised by a volunteer that worked for my father.
Don't tell me what he had been apprised in hearsay conversation with anybody. He has a tenant who died, leaving property in their office, and he is liable if, perchance, they find a will of your father's that says, I leave all of my possessions to whatever medical school he went to, whatever university he went to. And you go in there and you say, I'm his daughter, I'm entitled to everything. How does he know that you're entitled to anything? You had nothing from a court?
At that time, no.
Fine. When did you go back?
I received a phone call on April 13th, Saturday, from Mr. Gonzalez telling me that he was putting all of my father's possessions, office possessions, into storage, which I would be responsible for paying for. And if any of the movers hurt themselves, I would also be responsible for their medical bills. Mr. Gonzalez,
He can't do that either.
Mr. Gonzalez...
If he did it, he can't do that either, because you're not responsible for anything. You're not responsible financially for anything, and you're not responsible if his movers get hurt schlepping the files. So if he said that to you, he's 100% wrong. So far, I got a lot of lawyers here. Go ahead. So that's April 13th.
I was also told that my father's files, patient files, needed to be put into storage for 7 years by another practitioner. He gave me the names and phone numbers of 2 chiropractors who would be happy to store my father's files.
Fine. So you said no, thank you. Well,
the files are the heart of the business. They're a sacred trust, and they are saleable items.
Ms. Hertz, let's get on with it. Stop with, you're pulling at my heartstrings. It took you 7 days to get from Chicago to Los Angeles. It was more important to take care of your birds than it was to come to say goodbye to your father. I have very little sympathy for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My father overpaid on his last month's rent.
Get on with it. That's not what you're suing him for. You keep making things up as you're going along, madam.
And later today...
I don't know how long you've been drinking, but I would guess, based upon my experience in the court, that you've been drinking a long time. That's not the way to bring up a child.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcia Hertz says when her father passed away, building manager Miguel Gonzalez kept her from retrieving files from his business.
April 13th, he said he's putting the stuff in storage. What did you do next?
On the 15th, I arrived at the office early in the morning to make sure that the removal of my father's property did not happen. 7:30 in the morning, Mr. Gonzalez knocked on the door wanting me to sign a piece of paper. I refused to do so because there were no copies of it. He told me that he would make copies of this paper after I had signed it. And I said, no, make copies first. He wouldn't tell me what it was. Next thing he said was that he was going to call the LAPD to have me arrested for trespassing. They arrived 5 minutes later
and
threatened me with arrest that if I did not sign this piece of paper. I was bullied and coerced into signing it. It turned out to be a release of tenancy by April 30th. which gave me the entire month of April to remove my father's possessions, not by April 15th.
Okay, so?
Well, the tenant paid the rent for the month of April, which gave me until April 30th.
Well, that's what that says. You have until the 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
And I did not have a problem with that.
So?
However, in here, because of the if I may continue?
Go ahead.
Because of the termination of the month-to-month tenancy is terminated by the death of the tenant, landlord is permitting Marcy Hertz, on behalf of and as representative of the estate of Albert Hertz, hereinafter Marcy Hertz, to enter the property for the sole purpose of removing possessions of the tenant. Marcy Hertz takes full responsibility for all property removed from the premises, including but not limited to the chiropractic records contained herein.
Miss Hertz, I don't get the problem, madam. I don't get the problem at all. You signed something that says you take full responsibility for the files as a representative of the estate, even though he doesn't know you're a representative of the estate. And you have to be out of the premises by April 30th.
Which is the reason I was here. However, on April 13th, he threatened to remove the contents of Dad's office.
So? He didn't.
No, he did not.
So what? What are you here for?
I'm here because my father overpaid on his last month's rent back in 1987.
That's not part of your claim. That's not part of your claim.
All right.
Then what are you here for?
I'm here because the overpayment was more than 50% of what his current rent was, which would have given me into the middle of May to sell the files.
Get on with it. That's not what you're suing him for. You keep making things up as you're going along, madam.
Excuse me, ma'am. The value of the files decreases every day. The goodwill.
So?
The files are now worthless.
Listen, you were able to get the files as of April 15th. Is that right?
Ma'am, I was able to gain entrance to the office.
You were able, once you signed that document, assuming responsibility, on April 15th, you were able to get the files. Is that right or wrong?
You are correct, ma'am.
Good. And you say that because you weren't able to go and get the files either on the 4th or the 8th, the value of the files diminished because it took an extra week. Is that right?
I had to find another chiropractor to take my father's practice over.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Each day of his passing, the files diminish.
Then Miss Hertz, I would have suggested that if that's the way you felt, you should have made it your business to get there a week earlier after your father died. Because if you had gotten there on the 28th, you would have resolved this matter by the 8th of April.
No,
but you chose to take care of your birds instead of coming and taking care of your father's business, and you want somebody else to be responsible for that. It's ludicrous. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was going around my neighborhood with my peers saying that I am mafia connected, that I have LAPD people in my pocket, intimidating her.
I knew very well who I was before I even came down. We were in telephone contact prior to my coming down here.
21-year-old assembly operator Monique Betker is suing the father of her son, 26-year-old machine technician Robbie Schwant, for the return of her furniture and for breaking her nose. Robbie is countersuing for car rims he inherited from his deceased brother.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 206 on the calendar in the matter of Betker versus Swant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Betker, you and the defendant lived together for a couple of years, well over a year ago.
Yes.
And you have a child together. How old is the child?
Almost 2.
And it is your claim that the defendant owes you for furniture that he has that you believe was either yours or at least both of yours, and for an assault that you say he perpetrated upon you, causing you to have a broken nose and substantial medical bills. Mr. Schwant says that the furniture was his, and he says that you started the fight that resulted in whatever injury you had. As a matter of fact, the charges in that case, he says, were dismissed because you acknowledged to the court that you hit him first, and he is counterclaiming for something about his deceased brother's car rims, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, tell me about the separation in August of 2001.
He got possessive. I switched shifts to second shift, different plant. He accused me of cheating on him. I went out one evening after work with a couple of friends, and I come home the next day because I was too drunk to drive, and the door locks were changed.
Where was your child at the time?
My mother.
Is that when this incident happened that caused you to have a broken nose?
Yes, because I went the next day to receive my belongings, and we started arguing. He kept following me around the apartment. I noticed most of my stuff was broken.
So what happened?
I started packing up my clothes, and he was yelling at me, calling me obscene names, and he called me a word I didn't really like, and I threw a burp rag at him, and he come at me with a fist.
Threw a what?
A burp rag.
Yeah.
And then he punched me in my nose.
Your Honor, that's...
I'll let you tell the story.
Yes, sir.
And what happened next?
I called the cops. I have a copy of the police report.
Okay. I'd like to take a look at it. Now, can you explain to me why you waited a year? Forget the incident involving your broken nose for a second, or this has bloody nose. You'll show me the bills later. Because I assume you went through a criminal proceeding?
I never actually went to court, Your Honor.
Really?
While I was in jail, the judge had reviewed the case and dropped all charges against me.
Do you have a report on that? Do you have any paperwork
No, Your Honor.
on that? How long were you incarcerated?
For 2.5 days.
Okay. What furniture do you claim that he has that belongs to you?
My living room set, my bedroom set, and other small belongings, which
All
I
right,
have
let's
a
start
list.
with living room set and bedroom set. Who bought it?
My mom bought the living room set. I bought the bedroom set.
Is that right?
The living room set, her mother gave both of us
Yeah.
while we were together.
Okay.
The bedroom set she did have before we even got together.
So why didn't you give them back to her?
She took my son, and then over the next 2 months I wasn't able to see my son, so I had no contact with her whatsoever. And then later when I moved out, then she had more than ample time to come get her stuff. I had talked to her, so I ended up putting her stuff in storage at my own expense because I didn't have the heart to just leave it in the apartment and let it be taken.
So where is it now?
They're at my apartment.
Okay. She wants them back.
Well, the problem with that is I was given joint custody for my son.
I don't care. I don't care. The living room set and the bedroom set she wants back. Get it back to her.
Your Honor, she owes me several $1,000s.
For what?
For the tires and rims, for...
Just a minute. We're going to get to your complaints. I'm talking about things, not money. She has to get back the living room set and her bedroom set. They're hers. What else?
There's a list of Beanie Babies, some clothes. I've tried numerous of times to get my stuff back, and he come get it. Oh, don't come get it. Come get it.
Do you
don't
have
get
her
it.
stuff? Someplace?
I have some of it at my apartment, some of it at my parents' house, and a lot of it I've given back to her already.
Okay. Whatever you have a child together?
Yes.
Do you share custody? I assume
Yes.
now at this point you share custody. So it's a very good idea to maintain nice relations with her.
I've been
Pleasant.
trying, Your Honor.
Very good. So pack up all the stuff in boxes. Tell her where she should go to pick them up. You live close to your parents?
No.
No. Your Honor, she's
What?
had more than enough ample time over the last year. I've told her several times
Listen!
to get the stuff.
But what are you doing with it?
A lot of it was sitting in storage for 5 months.
Fine,
while
but
she
now
had
it's still
chance to-
there. Mr. Schwantz, I don't understand you, sir. Now it's there. You said you have some of it at your house, you have some of it at
Correct.
your parents' house, right?
Yes.
Get it together and give it back to her. Are you telling me that it's being used?
Yes, it's being used in
What-
my home, which I'm providing for my son when I have him half the time.
Mr. Schwant, I want you to understand my words. The bedroom set and the living room set are going back to the plaintiff.
Yes, Your
Do
Honor.
you understand? That is the order.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. As far as the other things are concerned, physical things, put them in boxes and she's going to pick them up. And I'm going to suggest, Mr. Schwant, that if you don't want to be an immature baby, you put them in boxes, wrap them up nicely, store them nicely, so that you don't have any quarrel with her. Because you have a child who's 2 years old, and for the next 16 years, you're going to have to get along with each other. So don't make a mountain out of a Beanie Baby. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Then don't speak anymore. Now, you want to tell me? He says that it wasn't just a throwing of a rag in his face, that you slapped him first. Is that true?
That's false.
Want to tell me what happened?
We had gotten into an argument.
That I know.
Okay. The argument got heated. I called her, and she turned around and she had a rag in her hand and hit me with her hand. And after
The rag in it.
Yes, with the rag. She was holding it in her hand. She hauled off and slapped me across the face.
Slapped you. And what did you do to her?
I turned around and I slapped her back.
Slapped her or punched her?
Slapped.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her mother gave you the living room set.
Gave to both of us, Your Honor.
Didn't make any difference who you were. If she had chosen Bird, she would have still given her a living room set.
And later today,
she said, purchase me 2 tickets, so I did.
For Britney Spears concert.
He didn't tell me in Indianapolis until he wanted me to pay for them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monique Betker says the father of her son, Robbie Schwant, assaulted her, breaking her nose. Robbie says Monique hit him first.
Well, couldn't your slap have caused her a broken nose?
Possibly.
Okay.
I'd never seen any reports of anything,
Well,
no
let me
doctor
see.
bills.
Let me see. Where does it say you had a broken nose?
They couldn't find that paper, but it does say that I
It
had a
doesn't
fractured
say. It
nose.
says nose possible fracture. It says headaches, whatever, and it says nose injury, possible fracture. And you declined x-rays, is that right?
I did a couple weeks after that.
You have the results of those x-rays?
No, I don't.
Well, then I can't help you. If you slapped him and he slapped you back, unless I have proof that he overreacted, reports don't indicate that you had any more than a bloody nose. Okay. 5 days. You got the order. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is something about your deceased brother's rims. I'm ready to hear you, Mr. Schwant.
Before my son was born, while she was still pregnant with my son, we purchased together, but in her name, a 97 Ford F-150. My brother, who was deceased now, had some tires and rims that were on his truck that was similar, only a year newer. The truck was going to be repossessed by the bank. The bank wouldn't let us take over the payments on it, so we had these rims that we had nothing to do with. So we put them on the F-150 that me and her had got, with the understanding that if anything happened between us, the rims were to be returned.
Go ahead.
Okay. When she left, she took the truck with her, and I asked for the rims back, and she refused to give them back.
Yes.
And she still refused to give them back up until the time the vehicle was repossessed.
And?
And
So?
well, they belonged to me. They were one of the last things that I have of my brother, who died 2 years ago.
You mean it's like a class ring? His rims for his car is like a class ring?
No, but it's a remembrance of my brother, who's deceased now.
That's what I didn't get from your counterclaim, sir, that the rims had sentimental value to you.
Yes, they did, Your Honor.
Mr. Schwant, if you were old enough to make a child, you're supposed to be mature enough to make reasonable judgments. To even come into a courtroom and suggest that tire rims are a sort of sentimental symbol of your brother that she took away when she took your truck, and you want her to somehow, and the truck is repossessed.
Yes.
Right? So that she doesn't have the rims anymore.
Right.
So you want her to give you money, and that somehow will make you feel better. That you'll have the money to look at that will remind you of your brother.
I never wanted any of this back until she brought this upon me. Only thing I wanted...
Just a second! You have her stuff. You have her things.
Yes.
The rims for the car are not yours. You neither purchased them, they were not bequeathed to you.
Yes, they...
No, they weren't. Show me a copy of the will where your brother left you his rims.
He didn't have a will.
All right. They were not bequeathed to you. They were sitting on a car that was going to be repossessed. You put it on a car that was in her name. And she left with the car. Period. End of discussion. This is her furniture. According to you, she came into the relationship with the bedroom set, and her mother gave you the living room set. That's hers. Her
Gave
personal
to both
property.
of us, Your Honor.
Sir, you had nothing to, you were just a thing. Do you understand? She would have given it to her daughter and the other significant person in her daughter's life, irrespective of who that person was. She wanted her daughter to have a living room set to live on. Didn't make any difference who you were. Don't you understand that? Didn't make any difference.
No, I don't understand that, Your
It's
Honor.
very, very easy, sir. If she had chosen, who is this person?
This is my brother. He's here as a witness.
Very good. If she had chosen your brother to have a child and a relationship with instead of you, her mother still would have given her the living room set. That's all I'm saying to you. So it didn't make any difference who you were. If she had chosen Bird, she would have still given her a living room set. Didn't make any difference who you were. Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. And so, but the bottom line is, what I'm telling you, is that you have a 2-year-old child together. we're talking about things, easily replaceable. She may not have done the right thing, and I'm not saying she did the right thing, because I'm telling you right now, if she leaves her child with her mother and goes out drinking or partying with friends and doesn't come back all night, and you change the locks on the apartment where you're living, that means that she has done an immature, stupid thing. Because when you have a young baby, you don't go out and play all night. You understand?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. You understand? So I'm not saying she's Miss Goody Two-Shoes. You have to
Yes, Your Honor.
understand. But you share custody with her. And if we're talking about things, Beanie Babies, I mean, what a mother of a 2-year-old child wants to do with Beanie Babies, I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. But you picked her.
Right.
You have to deal with it. So get her stuff together and give her stuff back to you and stop being a big baby over ribs. As far as the broken nose was concerned, I don't see
Your
any
Honor.
proof of a broken nose.
Your Honor.
What?
Can I add some things? As far as me, you mentioned that I was being a baby.
Yeah.
I think I've been more than an adult about this whole thing. I initially took her to court for custody of my son. I've had my child support taken completely out of my check, so I never have to even deal with it. It's always paid up.
Good.
I fought her for over a year to get joint custody, and she still refuses to have my name even on the birth certificate.
Tell you something. You picked her.
Right, and that was my mistake.
You
but
picked
I've got
her.
a beautiful son.
You
out of it.
picked her.
Right.
If you picked a baby to have a baby with, if she's acting inappropriately, you're living with your mother?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Good. Your mother helps you take care of the baby?
She helped when I take the baby to the babysitter, and then she'll pick him up.
When she's not at the bar.
Not smart. The fact that she's at a bar, if she is at a bar, if she does play, if she is not being totally responsible for your son, that's a terrible thing.
It is, Your Honor.
Terrible, terrible, terrible thing. But you have to live with it.
Right.
And if you're going to give her a zinger, what's going to happen is, at some point, she's going to make it difficult for you. You're going to make it difficult for her. Then it's going to be up to some family court judge to make a decision as to where your child goes. And you never know. You may get a good judge, somebody who'll look at the situation and say, listen, parents are equal. Mother, father. He's the more responsible parent. She's a barfly, irresponsible. And I'm going to award this child to the father because that's where the child's best interest would be served. And then again, you may get some idiot, and there are a lot of them out there, who say, well, mothers are still 100% entitled to their child unless they beat them, unless they scald them. Little children always should be raised by their mother. There are still people that feel that way.
Right.
And some of them happen to be judges. So you may not be lucky enough to get somebody who's fair.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what I'm telling you is don't be a fool. Be careful. She's still the mother of your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. That's all. What?
There is one other thing. There's a matter of storage fees for the furniture that I'm giving back to her for 5 months worth.
What were they?
$372 altogether.
What else did you have in there?
Just her belongings and my son's.
Did you use your son's belongings?
Not at that time. They were.
But
in
you're
storage
using them
room.
now?
Yes. But I think she should, still be liable for the storage fees. I paid the storage at my expense so she wouldn't lose her furniture, Your Honor.
When did you tell her she could have her furniture?
Off and on throughout the whole year that I had this stuff.
Is that right?
It would
Several
be,
times.
come get it. I call him, I'm coming to get it. No, don't bother to come get it because you're not going to get it. I'm not giving
That's
you
not
nothing.
correct, Your Honor.
My mother has even asked for it.
You have at best $150. They half the storage because there was other stuff in there that's not property, that is solely hers. You're not talking about a lot of money, Mr. Schwant. Do you understand?
Right.
You understand? You're talking about principle.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm telling you to grow up.
I'm trying, Your Honor.
You're not trying hard enough, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that she's a gold digger. She used me for what she could get.
I go to the bar maybe once a month, if that.
Left after I caught her cheating on me.
Stay away from men like that.
Stay away from her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of De La Fey versus Andrade, step forward, please.
20-year-old salesperson Vonica De La Fey is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old warehouse worker Cesar Andrade, for the cost to furnish an apartment and for breaking the lease. Cesar says she kicked him out and he's not paying.
Miss De La Fey, it is your claim that You rented an apartment in your name, but it was for the defendant, who was then your boyfriend. You were not living there, but because he didn't have credit or some other such nonsense reason, you signed the lease on the apartment. And in addition, since the apartment had to be furnished, you furnished the apartment using your credit card. But you were not living there, you were living with your mother. Is this your mother?
That's correct.
But then, one day, after about 3 months, you just happened to be there. Got into a big argument with him, a fight, and the police were called. And you had the police put him out of the apartment.
That's correct.
They told him to leave.
That's correct.
You stayed in the apartment. You stayed in the apartment.
After he officially moved out, they told him to leave, but he did come back occasionally because he had nowhere to stay.
You called the police and told them to put him out of the apartment.
To ask him to leave.
Right. And they did. Put your hand down. Ultimately, he moved out totally. You want him to pay for the rest of the rent on the apartment and all the furniture, even though you have the furniture.
But I'm only asking for half. I have the furniture, but I'm asking for half.
Right. You want him to pay for half the furniture that you have. Now, after he moved out of the apartment, you did move into the apartment.
That's correct.
And according to you, and stay there for the remainder of the lease.
I did not stay in the apartment. I had my belongings, but I lived in Burbank. I went to school in Burbank, and I got a job in Burbank. So from Palmdale to Burbank, I did not always travel. I would stay there once in a while so that way people wouldn't think it's a vacant apartment.
Let me explain something to you. The moment you called the police and had the police remove him,
Actually,
instead, does it look like you're losing? If it doesn't look like you're losing, then you're supposed to be quiet.
All right.
Because nothing that you have to tell me at this point would be quite as interesting as what I have to say to you. So if you listen, open up your ears. When you called the police and had him removed from the apartment, instead of you getting into your car and going home.
It was it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
I don't care if it was 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. You get in your car and you go home. You didn't even have to have the police come. You just get in your car and go home.
He left in the morning, but he did not move out of the apartment. He left but did not move
Madam,
out.
you treated it as if it was your apartment.
I furnished it for him. He was my boyfriend.
Good, then you pay for it. Then you pay for it.
But he should pay for half of it.
No way. He doesn't have half the furniture.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't. I didn't want any of this stuff. This apartment was for him and his daughter. I have pictures. He played on my sympathy.
Let me explain something to you, madam.
Oh, what?
Let me explain. He might have. You have all the furniture.
He can have it. I don't want it. I have it because he left the apartment. I do not want it.
You have all the furniture. You're suing him for money.
Half. Right.
No, for money.
Right.
And I'm telling you, you have the furniture. He doesn't have anything. He was told to move out by you of an apartment that you say you really was just on paper.
I didn't tell him to move out, to leave for that night. I did not tell him to move out. I did not tell him to move out. The sheriff said for him to leave in the morning but not move out. He still had his belongings there. He still lived there. Eventually, he just left.
Where's all the furniture now?
In my mom's garage.
I don't believe you. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was not for me. He should pay for half of it.
We both moved in together. We both lived together.
My daughter was victimized by the defendant.
I did not use it for anything.
He had a daughter. He would sleep in his car. He didn't get along with his parents. He needed a place to stay. He would stay in hotels.
I paid the bills. I paid the rent.
If he was a man enough, he'd pay me, but he's not going to pay me.
I was even paying her car payment.
I'm over $10,000 in debt. Selling the furniture is not going to help.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burdock versus Mayo, step forward, please.
21-year-old student Jessica Burdock is suing her former friend, 20-year-old cashier Jennifer Mayo, for shooting her in the face with a pellet gun. Jennifer says Jessica asked her to do it.
Ms. Burdock, the defendant is a friend of yours, or was a friend of yours.
Was.
And she shot you in the face.
Yes, she did.
With a pellet gun.
Mm-hmm.
Could you step up here? I'd like to look and see where the mark is from that.
I have this scar and an indent in my gum.
Well, the indent in your gum you don't see. Let me see the scar outside.
And no feeling in 2 teeth.
Okay, step back. I'd like you to tell me when this happened and under what circumstances.
It happened last July 7th, I believe. And we were trying to wake him up, and then we brought him.
Let's start from where were you?
We were at my apartment.
How many people were there?
4 of us.
Did you all live together?
Joe and I did, and we had another roommate, and she was over visiting us.
Go ahead.
And we were looking for cameras to go get developed that day, and she found Joe's pellet gun. And she played around with it, and she pointed it at my face. And I said, "Don't point that at me." And she said, "Well, it's never loaded." And she shot it.
No.
Shut up. Don't speak. Don't speak.
And I remember my hair went flying, and I had this really bad sting, and I covered my mouth. And she was like, "Did that hurt?" And I moved my hand, and there was just like blood pouring out, and I started screaming and crying. And
what kind of medical treatment did you need?
I went to the hospital in the ambulance, and then they said that the pellet was lodged too far in my gum to be taken out, so I had to go have oral surgery.
Can I see your medical bills, please?
I also have a picture. There's a police report there also.
Take it away, Miss Mayo. Let's hear you now.
Okay, we had woke up that morning and we had started cleaning her apartment because she had her DHS lady coming to check on the apartment to see if it was all in order. So we were cleaning, and I picked up this pellet gun and said...
What'd you pick it up for?
All of our friends in previous days had passed around the gun to feel the CO2 pressure. That is what I knew it as, a CO2 gun. I had no idea it could carry anything else but CO2.
Shh, shh. Did you hear what I said? So, how old are you?
20 years old.
So you picked it up?
Yes.
How big is this gun? Where was it? Where did you have to get it from in order to pick it up?
It was on a table.
Go ahead.
And so I said, "This is CO2 pressure. You want to feel what this is like?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, it's not loaded. It can't carry anything but CO2. And so I said, "Here, you want to feel this?" And she said, "Okay, go ahead." And so, and does it hurt? Oh my God. And we were both hysterically crying.
Miss Mayo, that is such a crock that you just gave me. I believe that this was an accident. Listen to me. I believe that this is an accident, which is your defense, that it was an accident, that you didn't know that it was a pellet gun. But let's examine the circumstances of what you did. You picked up a gun like an idiot. You weren't sure what it was, like a fool. You pointed it at someone like a moron. And then you said to another human being who's a friend of yours, "You want to see how this feels." She's smart enough to say, "No." That's what you said. Then you fudged it a little, because then she said, "All right, go ahead. Shoot me," pointing it at her face. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. What happened was she said no, and you were fooling around because you really didn't think that it had a pellet in it. And even if you did think that it was more than that, you had no intention of hurting her. Who should pay these bills?
I have no problem paying these bills.
Good. Oh, perfect. So
Well,
then
there
what are
we
we
go.
doing here? Good. You do something irresponsible, you have to pay. Our medical bills are $1,278. For your stupidity, I'm tacking on another $2,000. $3,278. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
These are excused. You may step out.
She is very irresponsible. She is selfish. She only thinks about herself. That's all she cares about.
She said, "Okay, you know, let me feel what it feels like."
Zoe lives at home, loaches off of everybody. You don't know that, honey.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, you don't.
They were shooting themselves in the mouth. They felt it on their face.
I was never around. That did not happen that day. I've never seen them do that. But she knows that that was a pellet gun.
She lies about, "Okay, I have 4 tattoos and only has 1.
About time that she faced up to some responsibilities and started screwing over all of her previous friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kime versus Cameron. Step forward, please.
19-year-old telemarketer Janae Kime is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old landscaper Wade Cameron, for crashing her car by pulling the emergency brake while she was driving.
Miss Kime, according to your complaint, you were driving the defendant's car home from some sort of an event because he was intoxicated and couldn't drive. You got into an accident, you caused a great deal of damage to another car, and you were ordered to pay restitution. And you believe that the defendant should pay that restitution because it was his fault, because he pulled the emergency brake.
Correct.
Which caused you to skid out of control and hit the other car.
Mm-hmm.
The defendant says He did, in fact, pull the emergency brake, but he pulled it because you were driving erratically. That's your defense.
Yes.
How do you know each other?
We're dating.
How old are you?
19.
And you?
24.
What was the date of the accident?
January 3rd, 2002.
Where were you coming from?
We were coming home from a party that night.
Had you gone together?
Yes.
Just the two of you?
No, there was 3 other people with us in the car.
Were the other 3 people in the back of the car intoxicated?
Yes.
But you were not?
I was not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janae Kime says ex-boyfriend Wade Cameron caused her car to crash when he abruptly pulled the emergency brake.
Okay. Now, tell me about the accident.
I was driving his car home from the party. Everything was all right. We were like 2 houses down from his house, and then all of a sudden he pulls up the emergency brake, and the car that I'm driving slides into this parked car, and the owners of the car were sitting in the car at that time. And so I pulled the car around the block and parked it at his house, and then we all went down to make sure that everything was okay. And I was in shock when this all happened at the time, you know, because it was such like a dramatic experience that I went through, and it brought back memories of...
Don't give me your memories. I'm not interested in your memories.
Okay.
So you went back to see if everybody was okay?
Right, and Wade had told me at the time that he had insurance on his car, so I figured everything was taken care of. I was in shock, so I left. And
you left before the police arrived?
Right. And I called him the next day, and I asked him what was going on. He gave me the number of the officer in Boulder that was handling the case. So I called her and let her know that I was driving the car, and then a couple days after that, I went up there. She wrote me a ticket, and then I went to court after that.
How did you contact the police, sir?
How did I contact the police? They contacted me.
You did? When?
The following day, or that evening.
So what did you tell them that evening?
I told them basically what we were coming back from the party, and they were assuming that I was driving, but I wasn't, and because the person that was driving left the scene of the crime, so they were trying to direct it towards me. But I told them what happened, that she had taken off, and they wanted a description of her and everything, and then that once that I'd gotten contact with her, to have her contact them.
Let me see the police report. Did you first tell the police that somebody else was driving the car, sir?
They were asking who it was, and I was describing who it was, and I didn't exactly say what she'd look like.
Who's Tamara?
I was a made-up person.
So you lied to the police?
Well, I didn't know her name exactly at the time. Like,
you didn't know whose name?
Well, I was drunk, so I was just mumbling out words.
Hey, don't try to get over on me. I'm smarter than you'll ever be in your whole life. Bird, do you have a piece of paper there?
I do.
Good. I want you to give her a piece of paper and give him a piece of paper, and I want each of them to write down, prior to today, when the last time was that each of these people saw each other, spent any time with each other. Do you understand my question? Prior to today.
Okay.
You need a pen? You need an extra pen? I want them to do it independently.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Look over here, sir. Eyes front. Write down the date.
The exact...
Write down the date that each of you remembers that you spent any time together prior to today's date. I'll take them. Thank you.
His, hers, yours.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Now, what did you have to pay restitution for, by the way?
I had to pay restitution for $6,839 for the whole damage to the car that I hit.
Because he didn't have insurance?
Right, and yet he told me he did.
When did he tell you he did?
He told me he did that night before I was going to drive his car, because I was planning on driving them home anyways. And I was like, you have insurance, right? He's like, yes, I
Oh,
do.
sure you asked him, do you have insurance? Oh, do I
No,
believe that?
I really did.
Do I believe that?
I really
Sure I do believe that. You said to him, I'll drive your car because you're drunk. By the way, do you have insurance? I want to tell you something. I think that all of you people got together and made up a very good story. That's what I think. It's not going to wash with me. I don't believe he pulled the emergency brake. I believe the car spun out of control. Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. After this whole thing happened, did he accept full responsibility?
We had conversations, about this happening, and he promised that he would pay me $200 a month for all the restitution bills because I have to pay $200 a month for the next 4 years for this car that he wrecked.
How much longer did you date after this incident?
We didn't date at all after this. The only time that we saw each other was just to converse about this, about the case, and about what
Really? Where were you?
It had been maybe at his house a couple times when I'd go up there.
At his house a couple of times?
Yeah, when I would go up there to go try to get the money because I couldn't get a hold of him because he was avoiding my calls.
Okay. And when was the last time you saw him to ask him for money?
Last time that I saw him was a couple months ago. The last time I asked him for money was a couple weeks ago probably about 3 weeks ago before I went and filed the case in Boulder.
And where were you when you asked him for the money?
I was at my house on the phone the last time.
When was the last time you saw him?
The last time that I saw him was...
At his house, at your house?
At his house?
Coffee, something?
No, I just asked him for money. It was probably about 2 months ago.
And when was the last time you say you saw her?
Last time I saw her was when we went to court for that.
Which was when?
When, I don't know the exact date of when that court date was, but we had the same court date, so that's the last time I saw her.
Uh-huh. And did you tell the judge in court that you had pulled, that this was all your fault?
Basically just to get it was already on the
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Did you tell the judge in court that the accident was all your fault? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
What did the judge say to you?
That was it.
Were you ordered to pay any fine?
No.
Any restitution?
No.
Interesting. Well, one of you say that the last time you saw each other was February 28th. One of you says the last time you saw each other was January 10th. It's interesting, isn't it?
So
Isn't it?
Very interesting.
Case is dismissed. That's
Parties
all.
are excused. You may step out.
That's all.
Felt that she was about to wreck the car, and I wanted to stop the car so that we wouldn't wreck, and actually we ended up wrecking anyways.
Sometimes it doesn't really pay to be a good person because obviously things don't come out of it, right?
Sure, she might have been the designated driver, but maybe she's a little crazy that night.
Administrative assistant Sherry White is suing her ex-husband, electrician Dale Dreyer, for having her car towed and impounded. Dale says the car was abandoned on his property. He is countersuing for storage fees.
Come to order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Now, this is case number 173 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Dreyer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss White, the defendant is your former husband. You were married for a long time, 20 years? 20 years. And I gather from your papers that you had a rather acrimonious divorce.
Yes.
This case has to do with a car, an old car, that you were awarded in the judgment of divorce.
Correct.
So why don't you tell me the story about the car and what you're suing him for?
I was awarded the 1991 Hyundai in the divorce settlement.
And at the time that you were awarded the car in the divorce settlement, where was the car located physically?
It was at our home.
You say at our home, pointing to him. Did he stay in the home?
No, I stayed in after the divorce was filed. I stayed in the home for 6 weeks afterwards.
With him?
Right.
And then you left?
Yes. I left the home.
And left the car there?
No, I took the car with me.
Okay.
It was agreed that we would leave the car in his name. And then we had agreed that my son, our younger son, who was living with his father, would get the car in January when I bought a new car.
And this you discussed with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
So what did you do with the car?
Our youngest son came to live with us in February after having problems with his father. And
came to live with you?
Yes. And his father became very angry, vindictive.
Where's the car all this time?
I had the car at that time.
You had the car?
My son was driving it in January. It broke down in June. It sat there on my property for a couple months. Our oldest son had come over to my house, asked if he could have the car. I said, sure, take the car. His dad does a lot of rebuilding of the vehicles. So he towed the car to his father's house where he was living.
Your oldest son's name is?
Jonathan Dreyer.
Okay, so Jonathan takes the car. It's been in your possession, but titled in your husband's name, despite the fact that you were awarded the car in the judgment of divorce. Oldest son takes the car from your new residence and brings it back to his father's house.
Correct.
Is he living with his father?
Yes, he is.
Is that right so far?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In June, Jonathan and the car are back at the father's house, June 01. Go ahead.
So it was after he had towed the car, he called me and says, I have to get the title from you because your dad doesn't want the car up here without the title. So I said, fine, here's the title.
Okay, so you gave Jonathan the title.
Right.
Okay, so now, good.
So that was the last I'd heard about the car until May 5th, when I get a notice that he has had the car illegally put into my name.
Well, no, he hasn't had it illegally put in your name. He transferred it to your name. He was supposed to do that a long time ago.
Right, but what he had done was fraudulent, the way he had done it and what he had planned to do with it.
Well, let's see what happened. So he had put the car in your name and then?
Called it in as abandoned.
Okay, and then they came and towed it.
Yes.
And you were sent a bill from the county for how much?
The ending bill was $786.
And that's what you want?
Well, they did eventually sell the vehicle and got $60 out of it for auction.
So $726.
Correct.
And you feel as if he should be responsible for that bill?
Yes, I've got pictures here that show, I mean, this is what he does for a living. He repairs and rebuilds cars.
Okay. Well, he doesn't necessarily have to do that with this car. I want to get his version of the events. Go ahead.
Well, my one son who got the car did not take possession of the car in January because when he moved out, he had a car that I had given him, which was an '84 Volkswagen Scirocco, at which time I had to put in a report of sale and transfer it to him.
I'm talking about the 1991 Hyundai. Let's get there. Jonathan brings it back.
Jonathan brought it to my house.
Back to your house in June.
When I got home from
work.
With
your permission?
No, was not with my permission.
Okay. Did you tell him to take it right back?
Yes, I did.
But he didn't?
No, he did not.
Okay. At that time, did you notify your former wife, you better come and get this car?
I could not notify her because of a restraining order which she had against me, which I have right here with me.
Yes.
Which thoroughly states that I have no contact with her whatsoever.
When you were divorced, did you have a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
Then you call your lawyer and you say to your lawyer, send her a letter indicating she better come and get the car. Then you're not having contact. Do you understand?
Right.
All right, so don't give me this. You're not an unintelligent man. There are many ways to deal with this kind of problem. Call your lawyer and say, I don't want this car on my property. It's her car. I'm turning it over to her. She's got the car. It's off my property. But you didn't do that. So what happened? So it sat there for how long?
It sat there until I had it towed on the 5th of May. It was the only thing that I could possibly do with the car because I had no interest in that car per divorce decree. And the only thing possibly I could do is make sure that it was in her name, which I didn't know it was not in her name because of the fact that she had to have been able to license that in February of 2001. And in order to do that, she would have to have signed the registration to do that.
So she signed your name. She probably did that over the last 20 years,
Yes.
100 times.
No, he gave me the registration. It came in his mail that he handed over to me.
So that's very possible.
So I put in, by law, a report of sale, which I did not have to do because it already stated in the divorce decree that it was her car.
Who are you?
I'm a companion of Sherry.
I don't want to hear from you yet, if ever.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She started to get very vindictive against my girlfriends. She even emailed to one of my girlfriends just to break us up.
This is a lie.
And later today,
I'm not holding it against you that you did not dress for court today, but I think that you can get a leg up if you speak up, speak from your diaphragm. Don't swallow your words. You got it? Speak up, speak from your diaphragm. Don't swallow your words. You got it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry White says ex-husband Dale Dreyer illegally towed her vehicle and then had it impounded.
Go ahead. You put the car in her name, then you
I did not put the car in her name. I just put in a report of sale saying that the car was hers as of November. And at that point, I had the car towed. I put in a 72-hour notice in the window, which is required.
You put in
the window of the car.
Listen to me. You put in a 72-hour notice in the window of a car that's on your property.
Correct.
And then you had it towed.
Then I had it towed. That is all what's required in the state of Washington. People who own the car do not have to be notified. It just has to be put in the window of the car.
How long did your divorce take? 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years?
No, our divorce was final in 90 days. And it was a good divorce. In fact, we used the same lawyer. It wasn't until January when she started to get very vindictive against my girlfriends, where she even emailed from the work computers to one of my girlfriends just to break us up. She's been doing this since we've been divorced.
This is a lie.
Don't you think it would have been the smarter thing to do, instead of having the car towed off your property, to have it towed onto her property?
She would have still got the towing bill, and it still would have came back to me.
Maybe, and maybe not. But right now, she's got a bill of $726.
Correct.
Because you really didn't do the right thing.
It's the only thing I could do.
No. What you could have done to protect yourself was get in touch with the lawyer that you both used and say, look, I have this car, and if she doesn't make arrangements to come and get this car off my property, I am going to have it towed. I don't want to look at it anymore.
Which would have been more expenses for me, Your Honor.
You mean to write a letter?
For the
or
lawyer
to call her? No. No, come on.
My lawyer charges me $185 an hour, Your
Well,
Honor.
that's all right. This would have taken all of 3 minutes.
The restraining order.
Shh. This would have taken all of 3 minutes.
Correct, Your Honor.
So as a result of what you did, she's got this bill. You think that's reasonable? You're the father of her children. She's the mother of your children. You're not supposed to do things to hurt each other. Either one of you.
Correct.
You're not supposed to do things to hurt each other. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. Whether it be 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, doesn't work out, you say, sorry, but you don't do things to hurt each other because that puts your kids in the middle. Is Jonathan still living with you?
No, Your Honor.
When did he leave?
He left approximately 2 weeks ago.
Where did he go?
Unknown.
You don't know where he went?
No, I don't.
Do you know where he went?
Yes, I do. He's living with his girlfriend and her family.
How old is he?
He's 20.
Did you have an argument with him?
Yes, I did.
Do you see your youngest son?
Yes, I do.
He comes over to visit?
He's called me numerous times in the last month and a half.
Has he come over to visit?
Yes, he has.
So there's not a problem with him?
Yes and no. I can't answer that. The reason is yes, there is a problem with him, but I am dealing with the problem.
Okay. Well, deal with this better. You're going to give your former wife $726 because you didn't do the right thing in having a car that you knew that she would not see the sign that you put in the window. You complied with the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law was that you notify the person whose car it is that if they don't move the car, you're going to have it towed. That's the spirit of the law. That's the substantive part of it. What you did with, you complied with the letter of it with full knowledge that she would never see that notice and therefore never be able to reclaim the car. Whether she wanted to reclaim it or not, she may not.
Can I interrupt? Your Honor, I have a statement here from the Department of Motor Vehicles stating that she had 15 days to convert the title over into her name. And if it was not done within 45 days, it is actually considered a misdemeanor.
Listen
and
to
she
me.
never did it. It is
Listen
still
to
at
me.
this date isn't.
Listen to me, sir. There was originally an agreement that I believe that your youngest son wanted the car. He took it, then he decided he didn't want it. The oldest son said, I want it. He brought the car to your... Listen to me. Your oldest son brought the car to your house. After a while, you said to him, I don't want it here, but he never did anything about it with taking it back to his mother. You knew the whole derivation of the story. It wasn't that she had the car towed to your house and left it there to annoy you. It was brought there by your children. That's how it got there, by your children. So don't show me things that are underlined that says she has 10 days or 15 days to convert it into her name. The idea was to let your kids have a car. And what you did was vindictive. You know, you have a counterclaim. You want her to pay $1 a day for storing the car for 122 days. That's ridiculous. You knew how it got there, and you should have done the right thing. You didn't. It's going to cost you $726 because I don't think she should be responsible for it. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it's a bunch of baloney that she didn't follow the laws.
I hope this ends it all with this man.
It's just another win for a vindictive lady against me that she's been at me ever since the divorce.
I want nothing to do with him.
In order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2148, Smith versus Smith.
Thank you. Miss Smith, this used to be your husband. You haven't been married in a long time, but after your divorce, you sort of remained friendly and you had some business transactions together. What kind of business?
I would refer real estate business to him and refer flipping homes and the construction work.
Did you take part in that as well?
I did.
In what year were you divorced?
2015.
So this briefly is what I gather from the complaint and the answer and the counterclaim. At some point, according to you, you purchased 3 ATVs. Those 3 ATVs were originally supposed to be used in business.
We purchased more than 3.
How many did you purchase?
Those were the 3 that were left. It was 14 of them that we had.
And when you purchased those together as part of a business?
No, those were mine. I purchased it. The business
14.
business was mine. Yes.
14?
Yes.
You purchased them, you paid for them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you can prove that to me?
I can.
Okay. Do you agree with the fact your former wife purchased the 14 ATVs?
Yes, I agree, but it was underneath an LLC that was formed.
I don't care whether it was under an LLC or a little umbrella or a big shoe. She bought the ATVs.
Yes.
So one of the things that's in question is the ATVs now are in your custody?
The remaining ones are in my home, yes.
3.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want them back?
I do.
She bought them. Why doesn't she get them back?
Because, Your Honor, there is an outstanding invoice for work that I have done for her.
What?
It's construction work and other odds and ends that was helping her.
So there really is no reason that you are holding those ATVs. Are they new?
No, they were demonstrator models. There's 1 new one and 2 demonstrators.
Okay. So within 5 days, you make arrangements to get those. Okay? I assume that you have children together?
No.
So I assume that you are two civilized people. I don't know whether you need a police officer to accompany you to get those. But within 5 days, make arrangements to pick them up from his house. They're yours.
I will. Thank you.
Are we then finished with your claim?
Now, there's a lawnmower, an electric zero-turn lawnmower. Okay. It's also part of that claim.
Okay. I sort of remember that. Is that an old lawnmower?
No, it was purchased in May of 2021.
And who was it purchased for?
He asked me, since he could not get it on credit, if I would buy it for him, and the next real estate transaction that I referred him, he said when he got paid, he would pay me the $4,800 back.
Okay.
And so when I asked for it, he said he had put it in a separate savings account to save it for me. And I said, well, I don't need you to save me my money.
Got it. So you have the lawnmower?
Yes, ma'am.
You picked that up with the ATVs.
Thank you.
Got it?
Thank you.
Perfect. Now we have to come to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is sort of interesting and can be, I think, probably equally swiftly disposed of. After your divorce, you needed a truck. You didn't have any money or credit, according to what I've read, and you purchased.
Yes, ma'am.
The truck was purchased in what month and year?
August of 2020.
How much did the truck cost?
$58,000, somewhere in there.
And how much of a down payment did you put down?
$500.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's good. You must have had good credit.
I do.
Good. And what were the monthly payments, sir?
900 and I can't remember exactly. It was under 1,000. It was $940-something, I think.
And you paid for the truck the month of August of 2020 and all through 2021. Until when? When was your last payment on the truck that you made, that you can prove to me that you made?
I have all the payments.
Just tell me, when was the last payment you made on the truck?
It was August of this year.
August of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what your bank records will indicate, that you made a payment of $900 and some odd, August of 2022. And in what month did your former wife repossess the truck, which was in her name?
It was September 20th.
Now you're going to tell me why you repossessed the truck. Let's talk about the violations. Driving without tags, only 2 months. When we forget or we're traveling and we don't get registrations for our cars, we don't drive those cars. Because if you're driving with expired tags, that's against the law.
Terry Smith claims her ex-husband, Tony Smith, owes for 3 ATVs and a lawnmower. Tony is countersuing for the value of a truck.
Okay, you made a payment of $900 and... Okay, now you're going to tell me why you repossessed the truck.
Yes, that truck's first payment was due on October 30th of 2020. I made the payment on November 28th.
No, I'm not interested in history.
Okay.
I'm interested in, he says that he was making payments on the truck. You say he stopped making payments on the truck, which is why you repossessed it. You didn't want your credit to be at risk.
It was 2 of the first payments that I made, and I said, I'm not doing this again like I did on the last truck where I make every payment. But the insurance, I asked for the insurance to be paid since April of 2020, and I requested this on June the 28th of 2022, and I said, here's the insurance premiums I've paid on the GMC truck since we've had it, and it was $1,596. His reply was, I'm happy to pay the insurance on my truck, but don't just dump 2.5 years on me at a time. I will need to break this up into 3 increments. This was June. I don't have any money. The insurance and taxes, the taxes this year is the first time he's ever paid taxes on the vehicle, and it was 1 year late. He drove on an expired tag for a total year. The reason
Is that just a second, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Did you drive on an expired tag
No,
for a
ma'am,
year?
it was only a few months late.
So you drove
It wasn't an entire year.
How many months?
2 months.
Well, that's too long.
I agree.
And was your agreement that you would maintain the insurance for the truck as well?
That was something that we discussed, and because of the real reason she actually agreed to purchase the truck, we had a benefit her to get another truck and come out from under the commercial rate that she was paying for insurance, and she was going to put it in a group insurance policy.
Where is the truck? Where is the truck? You've had possession of the truck.
That's correct.
So you get all the benefit of the truck, and she gets all the detriment.
I'm just referring to what we
I'm
discussed.
just what I'm not getting from you, sir, is any sense of the whole idea was this is going to be my truck. As soon as I finish making all the payments on the truck is going to be mine, right?
That's correct.
And if you didn't make payments on the truck, absolutely, she has a right to repossess it if that was your agreement. And you acknowledge that that's your agreement, right?
That is the agreement, but I have made every payment, and I have paid all the taxes.
Well, the word paid all the taxes eventually. Didn't pay them when due.
That happened once.
Didn't pay them when due, pay them eventually. What about the insurance?
The insurance, I agreed to catch up and pay her back for once she told me what it was.
Okay.
I never received any information about the insurance amount until she sent it all in one.
Okay, she sent it to you in one email. That was in June, and you said I couldn't pay it, and she repossessed the car in September. Between June and September, did you make any insurance payment?
No, I did not.
Why?
It was a lot of things going on at that time that there was money owed to me as well from her. So it was a lot of discussion going back and forth about that.
Well, but one thing is clean. You know about the insurance, and if there's money that she owes you from construction or real estate or whatever it is, you have to put that in compartments. Where is the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much in total did you pay for the truck?
The exact amount added up was $18,736.
So you paid approximately $9,000 a year, right?
Correct.
Your Honor, we had an agreement of $1,200 a month on the truck to cover the insurance and taxes up front before it was purchased.
That's not true.
Well, if you paid approximately $9,000, Mr. Smith, and you used it for business, correct? That's what you used the truck for. So you paid approximately $750 a month if you paid $9,000 each year for the 2 years, $1,870. You say the payments were $900 a month. That means that there was a shortfall.
Can I bring us? It was more than 2 years. It was August of 2020 until
September.
August of this year.
Well, that's 2 years.
There's also a down payment
of $500. I'm not.
Okay.
So that's $750, sir. I always have a problem with people who are no longer married and no longer happy with each other, where one party has the obligation and has all the liability on a vehicle, including their credit and their insurance, when the other person is being either irresponsible or blinking at certain violations. Let's talk about the violations. Driving without tags, because if you're driving with expired tags, that's against the law.
I would like to point out, if I may, that the bill for that obviously went to her address. It was not given to me. Now, that's not my. I understand that I need to be aware of it, but I never received that bill.
I gave it to him the very month it came in.
Just a second.
That's not true.
Just a second. You're a big boy. You know when your car has to be registered, you have a little yellow tag on the back like everybody else. And insurance, you know, you're supposed to pay insurance. That was your agreement. You were supposed to pay insurance. And you didn't pay insurance. She's going to show me how much was left on the loan and how much she sold the truck for. If she sold the truck for more than was left on the loan, the difference between, if look.
Smith is accusing ex-husband Tony Smith of wrongfully keeping 3 ATVs and a lawnmower. Tony claims Terry owes him for the cost of a truck.
Okay, well, are you working now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. She sold the truck. How much did you sell it for?
$48,000.
And how much was left on the loan?
48. It was even.
Well, show me.
Was it even? Oh.
I'd like to see that.
Ooh.
So $48,000 was, he paid $18,000.
Hang on 1 second, I got it.
Can I submit this to you?
What is that?
Or this, my bank statement showing the payment.
No, you told me. I
Okay.
accepted it.
Okay.
She doesn't dispute it, and I accept it.
I do have a copy of the title here somewhere.
What I'm looking for, Mr. Smith, just so that you know, what I'm having her look for me, she's going to show me how much was left on the loan and how much she sold the truck for. If she sold the truck for more than was left on the loan, the difference between, you're looking at me, the difference between that belongs to you.
Oh, I see.
Because you paid it, right?
Able to buy a truck.
Okay.
I mean,
would you find those papers for me while you're looking for those papers for me? Mr. Smith, did you buy another truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you put a down payment on it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you own it now?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving it now?
That's correct.
What would you do with a second truck?
Well, I was forced to buy one because I
understand
warning.
I understand you were forced to buy one, sir. But if you had the truck and you weren't going to use 2 trucks, you would sell this truck for whatever amount you sold it for. And if there was any overage, you get to.
I offered to purchase the truck from her. In fact, she understood that I was planning to purchase the truck from her.
Don't tell me what she understood. Right now, you don't need a truck, and I'm going to find out whether or not she has to give you any money as a result of what she sold the truck for.
this bill of sale does not have the amount on it. I didn't realize that. I'll have to get that from.
Well,
from
this is
where
the
I
time
sold
to get it.
I'm sorry, I did not realize it didn't have it on there.
Okay. Oh, you sold it to a company?
I did.
Oh, okay. Not to a private party?
No.
Is that the same company that you purchased it from?
No, I purchased it from a different dealership.
Okay. Do you have the exact amount that the loan, the extant loan was?
The original loan was 60.
No.
I'm sorry. The exit loan?
Yeah, the exit.
It was between 48 and 49,000, give or take. Hang on.
And the truck was, and the truck.
I originally put the down payment on that truck as well. He did not.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was the difference they gave me in the sale.
Okay, so this is the difference.
Yes.
Between what was on the loan.
Exactly.
Between what was on the loan.
Exactly.
And this. Okay, so the excess, sir, was $2,225. She put in the deposit for the truck when it was originally purchased of $500?
She did not.
Yes.
Who did?
I did, and I have a copy. I have that in this record right here.
Show me.
We added tires. We added all kinds of extra stuff and everything to it. I paid for that.
I don't
care.
I don't care.
Yeah.
This is actually.
Just show me.
It's on my phone. Can I show it? Can I?
From 2020?
Yes, what had happened, the amount actually came off of this statement copy.
Let me see.
Can I submit this to you where I made the 2 payments on the truck? When he first started, I made the very second payment and the 4th payment on that truck because he wouldn't make it. I also notified him on June the 20th that he had 30 days to get the truck in his name, and I never heard anything.
You can't notify him within 30 days to get it in his name. That's not the agreement. Let me see.
Yeah. There's this.
Yep. Purchased authorized August 22nd, and this is 2020 for $500. Okay, so the difference of $500 that came out of your account,
brings the total excess that she received $1,725. She's coming to pick up her lawnmower within 5 days and her 3 ATVs. At the same time, she's going to give you $1,725, which is the difference between what was owed on the truck and the profit that was made that she...
And I thought I was going to get back from it, and there's a lot more to the story that obviously I couldn't get in.
Well, I mean, I had the truth, so...
She understands why that is, because there's an outstanding invoice from me for work that I've done that she's refusing to pay for.
I have supported him since 2003.
Construction work, I did a lot of planning and helping her with her current home that she's living in.
It is just one thing after another, and I could never owe him one dime.
I mean, everything was fine between us.
Has trauma bonded me and manipulated me and gaslit me for all these years and kept me around just in case other relationships didn't work out.
Until she found out I was seeing someone else.
No. I had been asking for everything of mine that he kept and held hostage for a long time before that, but he's probably had many more before that. I just didn't know about them.
But I'm happy.
I was thinking he was making me think that we were reconciling while he was using me.
I don't see us talking anymore.
The bank is finally closed, and the bad bargain has just been a nightmare. It's been hundreds of bad bargains.
No more business ventures.
You see, it's always a mistake, unless you're married, to co-sign a loan for anybody, a boyfriend, a somebody.
An ex-husband.
And especially an ex-husband.
Yeah. Because I think what you said was true. There's always one person that gets no benefit and gets slighted and has their name on the line for their credit for future purchases that they want to make, and the guy who gets to drive the truck.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2126, Lego versus McCurchin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You run a school.
Yes, ma'am. It's a program.
Is it a school or a program?
It's a program.
What's the difference?
The program is not a school where the children come every day. They come twice a week. Parents...
They come twice a week online?
No, we are
in person.
In person, yes.
Okay, so twice a week they are there at a brick and mortar place?
Yes.
And how long have you had this program?
We actually started this program during the lockdown in 2020 spring. So this is at the end of our first semester of our third year.
Okay. And tell me, who runs the program?
I do.
You have an educational background?
I do. I have a master's in education.
Does anybody run the program with you?
I have a staff, but I'm the sole director.
Is this an annual program?
We do operate on a semesterly basis as far as payments, but the classes just roll over from first semester to second semester.
And is there a contract?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to show me the contract that the defendant signed on behalf of his son?
Yes.
Because that's what this case is about?
Yes.
The only interesting part of the case is your son was enrolled in the program. He was terminated from the program for, let's say, misconduct.
That's true.
And it was misconduct that was replicated in violation of the rules at least 3 times.
Kind of.
Not kind of. At least 3 times that you acknowledge.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That's not an okay. That's either a yes or a no. I mean, I read about 3 instances of cheating. You acknowledge that in your answer.
Well, it's different. It's different.
You mean he cheated differently?
No, he didn't cheat differently.
That's what...
I mean, I can explain.
It was explained in the papers.
Okay.
And you weren't there, so you can't explain. But you acknowledge the fact that he cheated. He was given a warning. You were advised. He cheated again. You were given a warning, and he was allowed to continue. On the 3rd such event, the school terminated him. Is that what I read?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you acknowledge in your papers?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, that's a yes. And he was within a semester. You had paid the tuition and then tried to reverse the payment because you paid on a credit. And whatever you told the credit card company as a result of what you told them, the payment was reversed and taken off your credit card.
That is correct.
Right. And so they are here now seeking that tuition payment from a court. That's why we're here, to see whether contractually, because this is a breach of contract action, you were obligated to pay the tuition even though your son was not in the program because he was dismissed for cause, which you acknowledge. Are we clear on where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So now I'm going to look at the contract.
I'd like to add that...
Just let me look at the contract first.
If you see contract, they're signed by my party. I want to see it too, because I don't see my name. I sign a contract. That's a statement probably, or it's a
payment agreement.
Yeah, that's not a contract.
Yeah, payment agreement is a contract, sir.
But signed by me?
Well, it says signed Irina and Jack.
Okay.
Is Irina your wife?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So this says, I understand that payments are due even if classes or memberships are dropped, subject to the refund policy. Well, what's the refund policy, and where is that in writing?
It is on our website, and they've signed it. It was a form that they had to sign.
Well, I'd like to see the form that they signed, because I have to see what the terms are of that.
These are the terms of the refund.
Thank you.
That's a screenshot of our website.
Now, the website is unimportant to me. You say you have an agreement signed by them. I'd like to see it.
Well, the agreement that we have signed was the installment agreement, so I'm sorry.
Well, I only have one payment agreement. What I said I want to see is a refund policy. You said you have that they signed. I don't see
They don't sign the policy.
Now, what you have to do is you have to incorporate something by agreement in this contract. If you say the refund policy as outlined in the website, because other than that, it's meaningless.
Okay.
You know, you're saying we have a refund policy, and we assume that you looked on the website to see what the policy is.
We also do go over it in parent meetings with the parents.
That you can't do because you have a written agreement.
Right.
And anything that's outside of that agreement, unless it's referenced in the agreement, is inadmissible because the intention of it is to somehow change or modify the terms of your written contract. Okay, so in what month did the defendant's son start the program?
In August of 2021.
And it runs in 2 semesters. And when was he terminated?
He was terminated in February of 2022.
You were in a semester program?
Yes.
So am I correct that the first 2 episodes of cheating were in the first semester?
Yes.
When?
The first one was early in November. It happened to be the 3rd week of our 2nd semester. The next one was a couple of weeks later in the same month of November.
Okay, so the semester had started?
Mm-hmm.
Second semester. Yes. And on what day in February was he terminated?
He was terminated on February 24th, I believe. Yes.
And when you terminated, the defendant, I assume, paid the entire semester's tuition for the 2nd semester.
The 2nd semester, he signed the installment agreement, which is what you have there.
This is a payment agreement.
Right. That's it. He agreed to pay in installments.
No, it says I agree to pay all charges by due dates according to the payment plan. I don't have a signed payment plan from anybody. Do you have one?
I'm sorry, that's what we use for our signed payment plan.
Well, you should use something different. This is not a payment plan. This says he will pay according to a payment plan. I'm looking for the payment plan. You pay by the month, you pay by the semester. How do you pay?
It's a
payment.
They paid through the semester.
Through what semester?
2nd semester.
Okay, so they paid in full.
Through the installment. So what happens is they agree to be automatically billed. And so every month, a certain amount comes out.
Just a second. So what you're saying is when they sign up, they give you authority to pull out from their bank.
Yes.
Whatever the tuition is for that month.
Right.
Okay. And according to your records, when was the last payment that you received for the defendant's son prior to terminating him?
Prior to terminating him, we received a payment in February.
And you terminated him on February 24th?
Yes.
How much was that payment?
It was, have it right here. You know what? I don't know.
$350 every
It's
month.
$300, that's right. $350.
I know, I got charged the extra month, so I know the number.
Okay, so it was $350 that you paid the beginning of February, and he was there in February.
That is correct.
Okay. In what month did you dispute the charge?
Well,
not well. I said in what month?
May. I only realized in May she's been charging.
Just a second.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
It was plagiarized by teachers.
He was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school.
But
you really have to get this through your head.
Slagle claims her customer, Jack McCurcheon, owes for tuition and administrative fees.
So you paid in February, and your son was there in February.
That is correct.
Did you pay in March?
It was taken out of my account without me knowing, but yes.
Is that $350?
That is correct.
And did you pay in April?
I did pay in April. Looking at my statements, I said, why are we paying for the child? He doesn't go to school anymore. And that's when I called them. And then I called my credit card company, explained to what happened. They said, we are going to charge the money back to your account. And that's when I kind of looked through paperwork, and I'm an immigrant in this country. I don't read really well. I can speak. And my son, he's a young guy, and he knows exactly what it is, and that's what I brought him. I said, can you see, do we owe these people money? And if you guys allow it, I can have Alex to explain what here shows.
Just see it. He doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
I'm not new to the country, and I was legally trained, so I don't need your son. I assume you're not legally trained?
I am not.
To interpret something, a piece of paper. So now I will look at the piece of paper that you're relying on, but I want to tell you this, sir. I pay the tuition for a lot of people, a lot, because I have 13 grandchildren in school.
Okay.
I'll take that, Kevin. Thank you, I'm sorry. I know that if one of my kids or grandkids goes to school and gets expelled, and I've paid the tuition because I'm not on a payment plan. Parents send the bill directly. and so I pay the tuition, but I know if one of the kids in November, once I pay the tuition, gets caught cheating on a test or plagiarizing a paper, and he or she is dismissed from the school, they're not going to give me my tuition back, even though he's not in school. I'm not going to get the tuition back for that semester.
That's true.
That's what I'm telling you. I know that. So now I'm going to see what you want me to read that suggests that in this case, even though your son was terminated for cause from the school for cheating.
Dismissal versus termination is different.
No, it's not different at all. It's the exact same thing. Dismissed, terminated, expelled, all the same thing. If you look them up under synonyms for each other in the dictionary, you will find they're expelled from cause. I just want you to understand that. Did you go to college?
Currently enrolled.
Currently. Stand up. You look like a nice young man. Where do you go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona.
And who pays the tuition?
I do.
Now, what's your first name?
Alex.
Now, Alex, you do know that if you got expelled from college for cheating in the middle of a semester, you wouldn't get your tuition back for that semester. You do know that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Well, that's what we're dealing with
Could
here.
I add something?
Sure.
Well, according to their honesty policy, they made a clear difference between dismissal and expulsion.
I'm going to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what you gave me now acknowledges that you received the refund policy. Thank you very much, because she wasn't able to prove that she gave it to you, but now you gave it to me, so I know you were given the refund policy when you enrolled your son in school.
So we weren't given, but it's something they have it on their website for you to...
Just a second. Well, then you look. You don't have to sign. Then you looked at the website. You gave me this. Do you understand? That's what I mean, legal.
I went and tried to understand.
Well, you should have done it before.
Well,
you were perfectly capable of doing it before.
I signed a contract, I signed and I explained everything.
You just told me 5 minutes ago that you didn't sign any contract. Well, now you acknowledge that you signed the contract. I'm just reading this that you gave me.
A contract has to be a complete contract. If
just
there is something.
For somebody who's, not here, not from this country, and doesn't understand things, you seem to understand things very well.
I know the contract has to be completed.
Well, that's very good. A lot of people don't know that.
So if I give a contract for a statement, then I say, go in my website to read about our refund policy. That's not part of the contract. That's their rules, no? I didn't sign refund policy.
You don't have to sign a refund policy. You just have to be aware of it.
If I don't know how.
After.
When I sign contract with someone, I disclose everything, and they initial, and they get copies. I get copies, and that's a legal bonding contract.
Good. What law school did you go to?
None.
Well, there are two things here, but the final piece here says the consequence for academic dishonesty or plagiarism is a score of 0 on the assignment and possibly dismissal from the class.
Okay.
So your son did that in the first semester at least twice. Repeated dishonesty can result in suspension or expulsion. Now you can stand up because your father says he doesn't understand everything. I think he understands everything just fine. But in case he wants to have you there. Now, when you were discussing this with your father, did you have any conversation with him that suggested to him that, you know, if I went to college and I cheated 3 times or 4 times or plagiarized a paper and I was kicked out of school, I wouldn't get my tuition back? Did you tell him that?
No, we had similar talks, but no, nothing on the school. We talked about, for instance, the signing contract for, let's say, a 1-year lease agreement to live somewhere, but if you breach the contract and they decide to kick you out, it's the same thing as expulsion. You're not required to finish the 1-year contract with them. You don't have to continue paying.
If they decide.
What are you kidding?
I am not. If you get evicted from a property, do you have to continue paying the entire year's lease?
Yeah. If you breach a lease, he or she can evict you. And yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease. You have to understand, and your father has to understand, the reason that he was expelled is his fault. And the reason he was expelled had nothing to do with them. It had to do with your father, because you were put on notice that he was plagiarizing and cheating on tests. If what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unlucky.
He is not required to pay because his son was dismissed from her school.
You were put on notice, and instead of being more vigilant, the conduct continued. He lives in your house. How old is he?
14.
14. Well,
I want to ask about this plagiarizing thing, which it is, because remember, beginning you asked me that he was plagiarized by teachers, which I was not.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
Like he was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
Well, then you should have, just a second, then you should have contested it, sir.
Well,
you should have contested it. Did you say?
If they don't want him to be out of the school, they don't want him to be there.
No.
What do you do? I mean, you go fight with them?
What do you do? You pay the tuition for that semester because that's your contractual obligation, and you tell your son you better straighten up. And if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, if I have to take you to a therapist, if I have to find a more rigid school environment, I'm going to do that.
Well, he really didn't cheat.
You really have to get this through your head.
When he says cheating, last time he was expelled from the school. Do we have a...
No, don't look at her.
That day he had an excellent score on his math, and his last test was his history, and he forgot to learn the history, and he did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it. Actually, there is no proof he cheated that day.
All right. They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school. How many other students were expelled from the school the semester that this defendant's son was expelled?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in business of keeping children in school.
I guess my son was that bad for her to expel her.
She said they didn't expel any other children. I'm going to ask her, how many children were enrolled in the program at the same time the defendant's son was enrolled in the program? Making excuses.
Okay.
I didn't tell, he didn't look at the paper, he had it underneath him, but he didn't look at it. Well, plagiarizing. So he copied from somebody on a paper that was supposed to be original work, did it once, he did it twice. Do you understand your son has a problem?
Well, we all have problems.
No, I never had a problem being expelled from school, sir, for cheating. I never had a problem being expelled from school for cheating.
I have lied.
I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. All have completed college, some professional school. None of them have ever been expelled for cheating. That's a lot of people.
Do you feel it's fair to expel a child from a school because of
cheating?
Cheating?
Absolutely. Not that I usually let people ask me questions, but the answer is absolutely. Because if 70 children are working hard to get good grades and studying and creating original works when they're supposed to create original works, and your son who's getting a 99 on a math test when he's been getting low scores on tests, all of a sudden becomes a shining star one day, and it's a pattern, and then they find another cheat sheet under his bottom. That's something that suggests to the other 70 students that are trying to do the right thing, that it's okay to cheat. And so if you want to cheat on this test to get a 99, it's okay. You can't run a school where you permit kids to mingle with kids who are trying with kids who are cheating. So do I think it's fair? Absolutely. Okay, how much money was reversed by this bank?
$1,050 plus $45, a $15 fee per transaction.
$1,095. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,095. Sir, your problem is not with the plaintiff. Your problem's with your son.
He's like all of us. He made a mistake. And
No, he didn't make one mistake. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I used to say when I was practicing in different court that if criminals got caught the first time or every time that they committed a crime, they'd stop committing crimes. Problem is, they argues this is their first arrest, not their first crime, because they can't argue that, but it's a first arrest. So if what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. Okay, we're done here. 1095, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I felt the difference was between the wording, what it means as far as being expelled versus being like sent home.
I'm extremely pleased. This was totally a matter of honesty and integrity, and obviously it stems from the father down to the son.
But he explained that's the same word, and again, that's why you come to court, and she did what she had to do.
We have kids that try to cross the line, come close to that line, but as I mentioned, our instructors are pretty savvy and they're on it, and we can tell pretty much, so.
I am happy finally done. It's been a burden, it's been a stress, and hopefully it's done.
Cheaters never win.
So I think it's really important for the plaintiffs, as the runners of a homeschooling system or a schooling system, to have a better contract for the parents that are signing, especially with a payment plan option. There should be exhibits attached to the signature page, not just referencing, oh, we're agreeing that we read the policy from the website. It's just as easy for you to reprint it, attach it, and require a signature, an initial on the bottom, so that you don't have parents like these that say, I never went to the website, I never saw it.
I agree with you.
If you have problems like this, there's no denying the fact that you initialed each page and each policy.
I think that it's a learning experience because they just started the program in 2020. And this is probably the first experience that they've had because he's the first never expelled it.
It's getting heated. She then tells me that she's going to have some dudes come and beat me up. Gallo, out of nowhere, comes from a corner and tries to swing at me. She then lets these men inside the house. They're banging on my door, talk about bring your outside. All this mess, I immediately got everything that I could, and I booked a hotel at the Westin.
Claim is that during the time that you were in the hotel, there was damage done to the property.
Right.
This is the way you found it.
Yes.
Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
This is vandalism. Somebody took powder and liquid and broke mirrors, and quite frankly, I don't know this gentleman well, but he does not appear to be psychotic. Do you have any other proof that he caused this serious vandalism of his own house?
I do not have proof that he caused it, but I do have proof I was not there, and
I don't care whether you were not there or not. So I have to decide if it was a stranger, the plaintiff, or this side, maybe not you, but someone acting on your behalf.
And now, the conclusion. Carlos Guillen claims his former roommate, Nigel Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo Jume, vandalized his property. Nigel is countersuing, claiming Carlos had her falsely arrested.
Okay, so if there is no other proof, what?
May I interject, please?
Sure.
Over the situation that he's trying to say that happened on the 27th, that even led to the whole craziness that we see in the photos over the vandalism, is a lie. And in his police reports, I don't know if he'll show you the police report or anything that happened, details and dictates everything of what the situation is.
May I see the police report?
He came to
Do
her.
you have the police report?
She has.
I was not able to
yeah,
get
she
the
wasn't
police
able to
report
get-
because I am listed as a suspect. I'm not a
Let's
victim,
see.
so they wouldn't give it to me. But if I may interject, because you're gonna,
I'm reading something.
You're gonna need more information to understand.
These are all pictures of your room,
Yes, ma'am.
ransacked.
Yeah, my room and then the living room as well.
The living room sofa, but this is your room.
That's my room.
This is your bed. Yes, you wanted to say something.
Yes, so Your Honor, as far as the room goes, I just want to add that there were multiple people living there. I wholeheartedly believe that someone else did this.
That's not true.
I can't
Don't interrupt her.
Sorry.
show you proof that he did it. To be honest with you, I don't know who did it, but I know I didn't, and I know he was with me as well. And
What about your brother? Was he with you?
my brother's?
I'm just asking you.
No.
What about your father? Was your father with you?
No.
Okay.
My father.
Just a second. I just asking you. The plaintiff said that there were 6 other people that came to the door, other than your brother. Who else came to the door?
No one.
Okay, so your brother just came alone.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when he came, was the plaintiff still there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And he stayed when the plaintiff left?
No,
Did he
Your Honor.
Okay. Well, go through the timeline with me. He came because you called your father called your brother because you were having difficulty, okay? And your father sent your brother right over and said, you better get over there. She's having difficulty with this guy. You go over there and straighten it out, whatever it is. How old is your brother?
My brother is 22.
22.
Mm-hmm.
Big, little?
He's slightly taller than me. He is more built, maybe like the size of the bailiff, a
Okay,
little shorter.
just a second. Okay, good. So when he came over, and you let him in?
No, he did not come in.
He
I didn't
did
let
not
him
come into the house at all?
Not until Carlos opened up the door.
Just a second, well, I'm asking you.
I
He
didn't let
came
him
into
in.
the house. Carlos opened up the door. Did your brother come into the house then?
Into the house, no.
Did he just stay in the front?
Yes, Your Honor. He stayed in the doorway.
Okay. There came a time that day that the plaintiff left the property. He went to stay at a hotel. He did not come home on that night of the 27th.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's clear. When he left, where was your brother?
I have no idea.
And I don't believe that your brother left you alone there before he left.
So
you have to understand, if your father sent your brother to be there to
Your Honor,
protect
there
his
are
sister
whole-
from him,
There are things missing, and if you would allow me, I would like to tell you what actually happened that day. He put in my door, threatening me, asking if Gallo was inside of the room, and he wanted to fight me and Gallo because Gallo told him to leave us alone. And he sent threatening texts to Gallo saying, I'm gonna beat you up, and we could fade, and bucko this, bucko that, all this. And he's like, like that. I called Gallo like, hey, Carlos is banging on my door looking for you. He's like, yeah, I know. I saw the messages. I'm on my way. And I'm like, okay. So we're arguing. He's at my door. I call my dad because I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And he's like, oh, he gets upset. So he calls my brother. My brother, he happens to work in the West Side as a security guard. And he's like, well, Pops just called me. Do you need me to stop by?
I understand all that.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So after he gets there, sees Carlos outside, I go downstairs after Carlos goes to his room, and I talk with my brother. And he's like, well, what's going on? And he's like, why he don't want to come outside? And yes, my brother was very upset because I told him, like, this man was threatening me. in his underwear.
That's hearsay.
Yes.
That's hearsay.
So-
Okay, let's understand something. This all came about, pay attention. This all came about because the two of you work in the same place. You had been living in the apartment for 3 months, and there had been no other police incidents up until this time. For 3 months. This incident, according to what I'm putting together, happened because after your boyfriend Gallo left and had a conversation with him about arguments that you had had with him, which you're not going to tell me about now because you're going to tell me that never happened. That's not something people make up. And he said he got into your business. That's what you felt. He got into your business.
No,
And
Your Honor,
just a
that's how I
second.
felt.
Just a second. And then you were talking about it to people where you both work. You acknowledge that you were talking to people about it where you both work.
Yes, Your Honor.
He got angry that you were bringing stuff that happened at home to work, and he came to confront you. That's
No, Your Honor, that's not. I have text.
That's exactly. Just a second.
What happened.
That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
He came.
It might have been about whatever the coworker said. He basically came to her door in his boxers.
No, listen to me.
That-
I don't.
no.
I'm
He came to my
making it.
door.
I'm making it simple, Gallo.
And so he texts Gallo, said, hey, G, I'm not fucking with her no more because she has an attitude problem. Gallo told the plaintiff, I see what you want, like you're a hater. And Carlos responded and basically said, I want to fade, I want to fight. And that is the morning he came banging to my door, which caused me to call my dad.
Defendant Nadia Pine has accused her former roommate, Carlos Guillen, of getting her falsely arrested. Carlos claims Nadia vandalized his property when he was gone.
It started because you told your girlfriend about the brief conversation you had with him after an argument. You say no, you're not going to say yes. Now you're still together, right?
We're
yeah,
together, but
still
that's
together.
Not the issue of
okay,
why
and
here where we're at.
And she got annoyed because the person that she's renting a room from, who she works with, is telling her boyfriend, "Listen, you don't have to stand for that. You know, you got your whole life ahead of you. You know, move on with it."
Your Honor, that is not what happened.
Oh, really?
I'm begging you to listen
just,
to me.
Just show me.
He's not that type of person.
Gallo,
if
I may. So, what I have in my hand is a message where he came.
Just show me. Don't read it.
May I?
Kevin, get the message.
So, if you see it the first on the top page at the bottom, that message was birthed from him coming to my door while I was doing my hair and telling me to send him. He wanted to talk to. He has his boxes on. He wanted to talk to me.
Just a second. What is this supposed to tell me?
I'm telling you right now, and then you read the message. I'm going to tell you the story that led him to say that last message. Because what happened was I'm sitting in my bed doing my hair, minding my business. He walks to my door with just his boxers on the door in his face. Like I close it because he has his boxers on. He's standing there, and I'm minding my business doing my hair. So I basically tell him, you know, let me know when you are ready to talk because you're standing here in your boxers like I'm good. And so when I open the door after he's like, all right, I'm ready to talk. He basically like, I'm not with your attitude,
just a minute.
Slam the door in my face and all this other stuff. And so he texts Gallo, that message you see there, say, hey, G, I'm not with her no more because she has an attitude problem. But I was upset because he was standing at my door in just his underwear. And so he texts him that. And then the next series of messages you'll see, Gallo told the plaintiff that basically you need to mind your business and I see what you want, like you're a hater. And Carlos responded and basically said, I want to fade, I want to fight. And you'll see those in the messages. He said, I want to fight. G, ain't got nothing to talk about. You're weird. All this buffoonery, the threats.
I don't have dates on this. Is this the 27th of August?
Yes, that is that morning.
The 27th of August.
That is that morning.
That's that morning.
And that is the morning he came banging to my door, which caused me to call my dad. He came to my door looking for Gallo to fight him.
I'm done with this case. I'm done. I'm done. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Right now, this is a disaster, including the cutting up of the couch. There's no question that all of those items are worth $10,000. Now we're going to hear your counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that you were arrested falsely, tampering with tires, lost wages, and cyberbullying. I've read the messages. They're nasty. People say nasty things. That's not cyberbullying.
No, there are more.
Well, I want you to circle the ones that you say was cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. Give her a pen, please, Kevin.
Thank you.
Don't give me anything that's not circled. Are you still living at the house, sir?
I have keys to the house, but
that's
I'm not
what I
living
asked you. Are you still living there?
there. No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm reading through these text messages. You said you can't fight stupid with stupid. Instead, I chose to remove my items and kick back in a 5-star hotel until my new place is ready.
Yes.
So you were moving into a new place.
I was, Your Honor, yeah.
When did your lease start?
It would have started on September 10th, Your Honor.
Is the place furnished?
Not fully, Your Honor. No, I did get a new bed. That's about it as far as furniture and the dresser and like just the stuff I was able to save that she damaged at the home.
Just a second, did you take the sofa?
No, I did not take the sofa.
Did you buy a new sofa?
No, I have a studio, so it can't fit.
So it doesn't fit?
No.
Anyway, so you were moving. So you purchased a new bed. Do you have the bill for the new bed?
Not on me, Your Honor, but it's
Well,
the
that's
same.
what, you know.
Yeah.
She may have destroyed all this stuff, but if you weren't taking the stuff with you anyway because you have a studio apartment,
Right. Yes, ma'am.
you had to buy a new bed. I could understand you not having this bed.
Right.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not cyberbullying. Any of this is nasty, but it's not cyberbullying. He does say in these emails, he came crying to me at 7 a.m. talking about how she beats him, calls him names, and says she wants him out of her life. I simply told bro not to worry about himself, to move on, just like any person with common sense would. This trick decides to go around my job and tell people I'm dirty. I don't pay my bills, and I'm trying to blank her man. All right, so I've just stricken cyberbullying. You have bill for the bed, sir. And if you don't, I'm going to allow you to tell me what you spent for it, because so far the $10,000 is coming down. How much was the bed?
$5,000, Your Honor.
Show me.
I didn't bring the receipt for the new bed. It was just for that bed that she damaged, because I have a Kelly King now.
Okay, let's move to false arrest. Well, you were arrested in part for vandalism, is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's what the police report says.
Well, honestly, I haven't been able to see the police report, but I know that based on what officer gave me, I was arrested for theft.
Okay, what I'm telling you was the police report says he reported that the suspect vandalized property, also that property was missing from his bedroom, but he is clearly accusing you of vandalism. And the report says a report of theft, but the officer clearly arrested you probably for both charges because the police report says vandalism, and I find that was a legitimate arrest.
No, Your Honor.
That's what I find.
Okay. And I go to my car to go to work, and all 4 of my tires were flat and bolts were missing.
So were the tires flattened and slashed?
To be honest, I don't know, but they said there were holes in it and they were patchable.
I don't believe in serendipity and coincidence. This is far too coincidental.
3 teams are about to go into the ultimate Play-Doh competition.
It's falling, it's falling.
Oh, God. 3, 2, 1. Oh, my goodness.
The party go.
Defendant Nigel Pine has accused her former roommate, Carlos Guillen, of getting her falsely arrested. Carlos claims Nigel vandalized his property when he was gone.
Did you find that for me?
Yes, I have an image of it, Your Honor. So sorry. Here you go. That's the mattress that she damaged.
So you had a queen and you bought a split king, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I bought a Cow King, yes.
Okay, so that was $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And you left this bed here, or what did you do with it?
I had some people clean it, so.
You had what people clean it?
I called my maintenance people who helps out with the house and stuff, and he got some of his crew, and they cleaned out and cleared out the whole apartment, Your Honor.
Cleaned out the whole. You have a bill for a new bed.
Yeah.
You have a bed that you say is comfortable. You don't have a bill from the people who cleaned out the apartment, because I assume somebody had to clean this apartment.
Right.
If you were moving out.
Right.
Well, right, I know I'm right. All right, I'm getting more disgusted with this case at every turn. Strike $10,000. Tell me about your tires. When did you find your tires
So the
tampered
27th,
with?
after the police left, after we agreed to peace, I went upstairs to go to sleep.
He was still in the house?
Yes, Your Honor.
On the 27th?
And when I woke up, I was getting ready to go to work. I noticed the electricity was off, which in those papers I gave you, he stated he turned off the electricity.
Yes.
Electricity was off. Everything was gone as well. Like, not everything, but like weird random things, like the microwave was gone. it was like a PS4 and like some like game setup thing that was gone.
Okay.
Like all of the valuables were gone.
So he had taken some of his stuff out because he was moving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he moved. Are you telling me he didn't move? Didn't move?
Not yet. No.
Oh, he's still there.
He was still there. But he
I mean, today, now. Is he there now?
Oh, no, Your Honor. But he was still there. Like, his things were still there.
Some of his things were still there, but he took some things with him.
He took.
When he left on the 27th.
With the things he claimed was valuable. Anyway, so I go downstairs and I go to my car to go to work because, like I said, I didn't think this would go any further, to be honest with you. And all 4 of my tires were flat and bolts were missing out of my tires.
You have photographs of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Please repeat. Oh, this is one with the timestamp. Thank you.
And he was not there?
No, Your Honor.
So were the tires flattened and slashed, or were they?
To be honest, I don't know, but they said there were holes.
Not. It means we're not talking about.
I
we're
wasn't
not
thinking
talking
about it, but I do have a receipt for the tow.
The tow I will
Yes.
take.
Which I ended up having. So we used Gallo's AAA, and it was his 4th tow, so he wasn't going to be able to get another one after that. So I ended
I just
paying him for the extra tow, which is $90. And then I bought 4 new tires.
Well, I can't help you with the 4 new tires because
okay.
what you
Come
come
from
here for is to prove to me any element of your claim. Right now, the plaintiff has not proven all the elements to his claim for $10,000. I believe he had to buy a new bed because that bed was destroyed. And I've already indicated who I believe is responsible for that. I do believe that he or somebody acting at his bequest, because I don't believe in serendipity and coincidence. This is far too coincidental. The damage to the home was far too coincidental to your argument with him, and the damage to your car is far too coincidental for me to be comfortable with. So I would, if you had a receipt, and we're not talking about years ago, we're talking about recently that you say you had to buy 4 new tires. Well, whether you pay cash or check for tires, you can get a receipt. And if you know you're coming to court, you're supposed to get a receipt. The same thing I'm telling you.
I didn't know I was going to court. I thought it was all over with, to be honest.
Very, very good. Judgment for the plaintiff on the complaint. My original order was for $3,000. From that, I'm reducing it by $90, so it's $29.10. Judgment for the plaintiff. That disposes of the counterclaim. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
He never lived there. We don't argue like that.
We never argued. It never was a problem. He's basically, his issue was with her.
She's a hater, to keep it real with you. She assumed that I was trying to sleep with her man when I was just giving him evidence, so.
We have DMs, messages. He came to me talking about her, and I addressed him. That's my girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, there's text messages of him thanking me. So it's kind of weird how that played about, but I don't know.
He's tired of her, he's annoyed, and I'm like, that's not nothing that you should be telling me. You guys don't need to talk. She stays on the 3rd floor, you're at the...
Yeah.
But he's already been treating her like this from the jump. And that's why I messaged him to basically leave her alone.
They definitely damaged his house. I've seen it for myself, so it's unfortunate how it ended, but we know the truth.
Honestly,
I don't want to hear from him ever again.
I think you were right that there was far too many scenarios that lined up a little too perfectly around the same argument for it to be somebody else.
Some other dude did it. You know, I'm sorry that the plaintiff didn't tell me he moved and was in fact moving within a couple of days into a studio apartment. That would have been interesting information to have right from the get-go. I don't know why I didn't have it. It just would have gone to the extent of damages. I mean, if he had to buy a new sofa, and certainly from the vandalism of that sofa he needed, but he didn't need a new sofa. He had a studio apartment. That doesn't give somebody the right to vandalize your property and to break things.
But the law is allowed to use common sense in determining damages. And I think your final ruling on canceling out the defendant's countersuit with the plaintiff's too large of an ask for damages was the right call.
You think so?
I think so.
You know,
I wish she had the
you-
receipt for tires. You could put two and two together that, okay, clearly.
Oh, I saw the photographs. The tires were clearly flattened, but you don't know if they were flattened as a result of somebody taking the plugs off them and just letting the air go out of
and
them.
without a receipt or without a
And
mechanic's
you
note.
really don't
or-
know. And this all happened 2 months ago, so she should have the bills. Anyway, you try to use common sense. And when the physical evidence isn't there of who done it, you sort of try to piece together a scenario that makes sense. Unfortunately, now you have some text messages and you have emails that assist in that. Not everything is a picture.
Yeah.
More and more so, at least in the criminal system, it's becoming a picture because everybody has.
Assalamu alaikum. Now we are talking about too much discussion. The first one I am talking about your parents. First one I am talking about your parents. Yes. Your parents is the most precious and intellectual person of your life. You as a usual must take care of your parents when they get old. You can't know how much precious your parents is for you, and they what is their what is their position in your what is sorry by mistake I will repeat this line. And you should take care of your parents when they get old, when they get old. And you think that now they are getting old, and how can we take care of our parents? And you think now we should try to and shift them in an old homes. That's really a bad decision. How can you think that your parents should be spend their life in old homes when they are not able to serve you, when they are not able to mm, when they are not able to earn money for you, and you think that they are useless? Shame on you. How can you think that your parents how can you think that uh, how can you think such a dirty thing about your parents? And you must take care of your parents, especially when they are getting old and they are not able to do their work, and they are their hands and their hands are um, um, become their hands have become um, vibrating. Their hands have become vibrating while eating, and you should keep them alone. should you should not keep them alone. You should not keep them alone. And you think that the servants can easily take care of your parents. They can't. They are not their parents. They can't take care of your parents. They just treat them like a useless thing. They treat them like a useless thing. And the whole duty of your parents and take care of your parents give to your servants. How useless persons are you? Shame on you. First of all, you must spend time half an hour in a day with your parents. You must go for the dinner. You must did your dinner with your parents, and you can constantly talk with your parents and ask them what happened, what about every situation, what happened, how they spend their whole day, they spend the day, and how they spend your whole day, and talks about the things talks about don't think that they are useless. They are not important for you. They are not important for you. And I think I know that their talks are not such engaging, and like today people are talking about the social medias, and they are not using social media. They are not such a social media persons, or they are living in the life. They spend their life and they are not social media. When there is no social media, they just spend their life on without mobile phone. The mobile phone is of a 21st century. It is in 25 is the invention of 21st century. Is an invention of 21st century. And that's why they can't know how to use mobile phone, and what is the social media, what about the Facebook, what about the Twitter. They don't know. But you know, but you don't need to be to think that I am the most branded person. I am greater than you. I am the most intellectual person than you. You don't know what is this. You don't know about the social media. And you are the old thinker person. You are the old thinker person. and we are living in this we are living in 21st century. We know how to spend, we know how to spend our life. It is my life and I know how to spend my life. You don't need to you don't need to um, interrupt in my life. You don't need to interfere in my life. How poor mentality person are you? You should spend time with your parents. Don't need after marriage you just think you have you have just 2% are important in life. Then the fun thing is, and your child and your wife. Don't think like this. I hope so you will understand what I am saying, and you will act upon on my advice. If any one person can act upon my advice, I think that the my work of this I am very thankful to that person, and I am very thankful to God that only one person can act upon my advice and give um, okay now. Okay, Allah Hafiz. Hope, I hope so you will act upon my advice, and may good of best of luck. Okay.